Starting the recording and starting the stream. Welcome to Horsing Around, a dumbass cast. I'm your host, as always, Nick Mercadante, and with me today I have three lovely guests. If you would like to introduce yourselves.
Oh, do I go first?
Yeah, that was the thing I said. You piece of shit.
Sorry, I'm just trying to. It's like the topic we were talking about before. I'm trying to exemplify the capability of listening to constituents that the Labour Party of Britain is capable of.
Great start. Great.
I'm
Thank you.
Shadow Cabinet Governor
Okay.
Jacob.
Oh, MP Jacob Sandstrom.
I'm from Southern Dorchester.
We're really just pissing off all zero of our British viewers right
Yeah.
now, huh? We also have another person.
Oh yeah? Well, I'm the Australian representative here, mate.
Oh no! If we want to talk about governments that are even more fucked than the British,
Hell yeah. Yeah, Australian candidate Mando here.
Uh-huh. Finally.
I'm
What's
really
your
wish I
what's
could
your
do
bit? Yeah, what's your bit? See, I don't have to do a bit. That's how
Man, I
that's
can't
my
do a
out.
South African accent on command. That's the problem. I gotta look up to it. 'Cause yeah, that's the thing we should talk about. Is that you guys see their crazy footage of the armored car hold up in South Africa, where they like
Oh, was
trying to
that
run
in-
this dude off the road and like they're shooting like at the driver's side window. And
Oh yeah. I
it's
saw that.
insane. And
Who
Yeah, I
is
gotta
shooting
look
at
at
who?
So someone was trying to rob like an armored vehicle.
in South armored car robberies are actually really common in South Africa.
Hey, what's your
Robberies-
name, by the way?
Oh, my
Oh,
name
it's-
is Beekman.
Okay.
I'm insert Commonwealth politician here. I guess
Uh-huh.
I could have done Canada. Damn it! I screwed this up. I'll let you down this time, Ricky.
No, you're the only one. You know what?
I am Beekman from Quebec.
Separatism.
Oh, God.
I
Okay.
think everyone in Quebec should speak the French language.
Alright, we really just globetrotted in the first 5 minutes here. No, but to jump back to whatever the South African bank robbery was, what is
Armored car
Yeah,
robbery.
armored car,
There's
yeah.
like a I can find the
Yeah, it's like a whole clip. It's wild. The driver, fucking stone cold. Or no, it wasn't even the driver. It was the side guy.
Oh, is this like a wait, is this the oh okay, this is the view from inside of the secure vehicle, and then they're getting rammed by this fucking Ranger pickup truck in the back here.
Yeah.
I'll put it on screen now.
Where'd you post this?
I just here I'll post it in chat as well. I was just looking.
Oh, did you already find it? I thought Beacon posted it.
No, here I'll drop it Horsin around.
Yeah, I'm just trying to.
I'm
rewatch
assuming
it.
this is what you're talking about. This
Yeah.
is what came up when I googled it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
No.
I think it came out that the
driver.
dude on the left in the glasses is actually a he's like a firearms instructor as like another gig he does, so he's like
Oh.
a pretty experienced like.
Oh damn. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
it's good to
Oh,
have.
so it was the driver. Yeah, the driver was stone cold. He gave zero fucks.
I'll keep it down or keep it muted. But yeah, I see in the GIF the fucking glass got. Oh yeah, right. Oh god. Yeah, they're literally just fucking shooting it up. Holy
Yeah,
shit.
trying to get them to stop so they can.
Yeah.
Yep.
For to fucking dunk on him. Well, did it go through? Robert Stock Small working up from home robberies. Tense video. Group of robbers open fire. Vehicles tend to transfer money. Inside CIT, vehicle's driver Leo Prinsloo made an excellent escape while his partner Lloyd. Okay,
That
they
is
got
an
out.
excellent South African name.
Lloyd Mitombeni, probably fucked up that name, prepared for a worst case scenario. Okay. Wow, yeah. Yeah, look this up if you guys are just listening on audio, or you can check it out in I'll posted the link in the Horsing Around channel on Discord. Well, that's...
I like that the title says it's happened almost daily. That's crazy to me. You're just an armored car worker. You can like almost expect to get
Yeah, I'm
jacked.
probably gonna get Jack this week at some point.
Yeah.
What the fuck? So,
Well,
I don't know. It's almost like South Africa has a lot of socioeconomic disparity that creates high levels of crime.
what Oh,
Yes.
Oops.
Yes.
Uh-oh.
oopsie doopsie. Yeah, which if we want to loop back around to what we were talking about before the podcast started, there was an election in Britain recently.
Well, in Scotland.
And
I thought there was one in Britain too.
Was there one in Britain?
I thought that's
I've only
where
been following
Boris
the
Johnson
Scottish
won.
one.
I thought that's what Beast
Well,
was
I mean,
saying.
there was one recently, but the British Parliament, I think, is when I read something about the Scottish election, I think they said the British Parliament isn't really required to have an election until 2025. With the current Tory and the control they have over the British Parliament currently.
Oh, so then when did Boris win if it wasn't recently?
I mean, Boris Johnson has been prime minister for a couple of years now.
Right. Oh, but I thought Beach was saying that he was up for re-election and then he won again.
No, I misunderstood the
No, no,
situation.
no, no.
I think it was for some seat was up for a special election. Not
Gotcha.
so Boris Johnson wins because his party wins the.
Alright, gotcha.
You don't. Prime minister works somewhat similarly to. It's weird. It's almost like, what if the president was the Speaker of the House?
These newfangled parliamentary systems they got over there in Europe, I don't know much about.
That is because, the executive of the British, the United Kingdom is technically the Queen of England.
Yeah.
Oops, we still have monarchy.
Yeah, and she just kind of
Uh-oh.
quietly siphons money from the people, and it's like, okay, I guess this is just what happens in Britain,
No, guys, think about the tourism improvement we get from the Queen.
I would love to see the numbers on, like, the amount of money.
Yeah, I don't know. That.
The royal family brings in
around the world who are weirdly into the royal
technically,
family.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how. I don't know how it is in modern day, but like I know the Queen still had like major political, like almost ambassador like job.
Oh yeah, I mean she has like a
she has,
ceremonial head of state, like it's a big deal if she visits somewhere.
And I once again, this might be me watching an old politics on boring video, but according to like that source, like the Queen technically still has legal authority to be like, I don't care what Parliament thinks.
Yeah, she could
This
just
law
overrule.
will not go into effect.
Yeah, no, I think
but it's very ceremonial because at least Queen Elizabeth knows that if she were to do that, bad things could happen to the royal family.
Well, I think.
But also it doesn't help because in actuality she shouldn't have any power.
Yeah.
That would circumvent this problem entirely.
Yeah.
I don't know. The tourism argument I always find hilarious, which is like, hey, dog, did you know that you can still have a royal family? Like, other European countries have royal families that do not have that same level of power anymore within inside of the system of government. Like, you can just get rid of them.
A lot of Sweden pretty much like that? Sweden, Norway, like
I don't know off the top of my head. I think Denmark,
Denmark
or the Netherlands works like that, where like they have a royal family, but they're just kind of like dudes and gals who make up that family.
Yeah,
I don't know. Royalty shit is like hilarious that it's still such a problem. Like I was reading recently about how like Japan is going through this like weird in between state because the previous emperor abdicated early. He was like, I don't want to be emperor.
Married and not do this anymore.
And so they're like, oh, there aren't that many male heirs to the throne. Also, like if a woman marries someone outside of the bloodline, like a commoner, then they're removed from succession. And also like all of these other branching off houses got removed from succession, from the line of succession after World War II because of a law that was passed. And so there's a huge debate about like, hey, but what if woman was emperor of Japan? What if we add that as an option so that we don't run out of people? Yeah, girl boss empress.
Girl boss empress maybe will finally resolve the declining birth rate in Japan.
But I
than
think
Shinzo Abe.
Japan is the example, because I don't think that the Japanese emperor holds any political
Yes.
power. So like,
Because the good old
well,
US
yeah, that is
today was
because
like,
we
listen,
showed up and we were like,
listen, we'll let
bam,
you
bam,
keep this
bam,
whole emperor deal. Like,
boats
I
with
know we said
guns.
unconditional surrender, but you said, hey, can we keep the emperor? And we're like, yeah, okay. All right.
You can have this.
We're rewriting your constitution. Also, you're gonna like baseball.
I mean, you know,
Dude,
I'm curious if part of the like if it was just completely American, like just American diplomats being like throwing them a bone, or if it was partially because the emperor also was like, hey guys, stop. Like,
I mean,
and
it
when
was
the second bomb
like
dropped.
America had always said unconditional surrender for both the Germans and the Japanese in World War II. They said we're not gonna do a status quo antebellum bullshit. Like you guys started this fucking war. You're gonna we're finishing it.
Yeah.
And so like it is interesting to note that it was a conditional surrender because the Japanese, like we said, surrender unconditionally, and then the Japanese asked if like can you like not please like not kill the they wanted the emperor protected, and we said okay, and that was it largely. There
that
was
was the
not
main
really any
thing.
other concession made. It's like, yeah, we're gonna try people for war crimes.
Mhm.
We're gonna
But I mean,
reorganize our government. We're gonna demilitarize,
some of the
that,
scientists that like did some fucked up experiments for the Japanese still like got out from like more lower level and more obscured like plea deals, right? Like to get out of the war crimes trials.
I mean that if you're talking about that, like that generally happened more with German scientists who went on to work, because German scientists had more, I guess, what you would call knowledge that that the Americans want, like with rocketry and stuff like that, to come into the the burgeoning American aerospace and then space program. So that happened. I'm not aware of like an equivalent to like Operation Paperclip for Japanese scientists. That'd be an interesting thing to investigate.
Yeah, I think I was just like, I don't know at what point I went down the fucking Unit 731 rabbit hole for World War II war crimes, but there is a section
It also
at least
could have been
on
like a thing like, hey, records got destroyed, so it's like we didn't have any evidence to to pin on some guy.
Yeah, on the Wikipedia, so granted with a grain of salt or whatever, among the individuals in Japan after its 1945 surrender was Lieutenant Colonel Murray Sanders, who arrived in Yokohama via the American ship Strugus in September 1945. Blah, 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 blah. So next morning after he made the threat, Sanders received a manuscript describing Japan's involvement in biological warfare. Sanders took this information to General Douglas MacArthur, in charge of helping rebuild Japan after the occupation. He secretly granted immunity to the physicians of Unit 731, including their leader, in exchange for providing America, but not the other wartime allies, with their research on biological warfare and data from human experimentation.
I mean, that does sound like something good old General MacArthur would do.
Oh, General MacArthur.
Yeah.
Woo!
General, let's just put Cobalt 60 in the Yalu River, MacArthur.
Yeah, I don't understand.
General, I'm gonna nuke Shanghai and then become president, MacArthur.
General, please don't do anything reckless that could endanger the war effort by overextending the position, and then also with your crazy attempts in order to completely eradicate the North Korean. Yeah, could you like calm down for like half a second? And MacArthur's like, "No, I will continue to go." Nothing will stop me unless I get fired for my reckless action that endangers.
I will turn all of the Red Land into a burning hellscape before I step down. And then immediately under it, they also have separate Soviet trials where they took some other people who were involved with 731, and then let's see, travelers captured, lengthy partial transcript, blah blah blah. Sentences doled out to the Japanese perpetrators were unusually lenient by Soviet standards, and all but one of the defendants returned to Japan.
By Soviet standards being the key terminology used in that sentence.
Terms only uses. Oh, but then the U.S. Were using that as something to funnel some propaganda through about the trials being just a show, to distract from the Soviet treatment of several 100,000 Japanese prisoners of war. So the U.S. has given Japanese diplomat. Meanwhile, the USSR asserted that the U.S. had given the Japanese diplomatic leniency in exchange for information regarding their human experimentation. Yes, correct. Oh man, the accusations of both the U.S.
this only
and
goes to prove
USSR
my
were
argument
true.
that nations shouldn't exist anymore. We should just get rid of
Okay,
all of them.
okay.
Damn,
Fucking
true. Are you?
Ace
Oh my
Combat
God,
Heroes,
true
the
and
Belgian
cap?
War, Jacob Tetrum, Solo Wing Pixie.
We got a true and cap in here? Question mark. But yeah.
Don't you dare call me an and cap.
Well, then what are you? Or if you sound a little anarchist there, I guess maybe.
I mean, yes.
There
but
there
you can
there are other
you can-
anarchist
You can be an.
flavors.
I don't know if you know this, but
Yeah.
there's also this term called ANCOM, which is
Yeah.
an
the
anarchist,
opposite.
but not capitalist.
That is like.
And caps are hilarious to me. It's so funny.
Listen,
I like.
Jacob. I know you're upset, but listen, I had to take your son out the game because he opened a lemonade stand on my grass without my permission, and that violated the non-aggression principle. So
You're-
I'm well
you know
within
what,
my
yeah.
rights to fire 60mm white phosphorus rounds into his lemonade stand. I don't see what your issue is.
That's the type of freedom the founding fathers were talking about.
Yes. If they
God.
knew.
Now don't retaliate against me, or I'll be forced to use my McNuke.
Oh my God.
Ugh.
Sorry. Go on. What do you
Oh no,
wanna say?
I was just gonna say on the topic of retaliation, I really want to. I haven't played it yet, but I've watched people play it, and I really want to get into playing DEF CON a lot more.
Oh, DEF CON's a classic, yeah.
DEF CON is a game from I think 2006, which is surprising. I didn't know it came out that
Yeah.
like long time ago because when I saw it in like maybe 2015, and I was like, oh, this is like a new game, because it looks really good.
Yeah, it's got a great visual style. For those who don't know, DEF CON, it's from Introvision, one of those games, a British studio. They've developed games like Frozen Synapse. Oh no, that's Mode 7. God, I'm getting my British game devs mixed up. What else?
It's okay. Maybe one day there'll be
Darwinia is
Scottish
the other
game
famous
devs
thing.
instead.
Yeah,
Sorry, what were you
Brazil.
saying?
What were you? Yeah. What were you saying, Beaks?
I'm just reminding myself about who developed this game.
Introversion. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
but I'm trying to think of what else they put out. Darwinia. Oh yeah, Prison Architect is probably their most well-known.
Ah.
yeah,
game
yeah,
that people
yeah.
have played. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but DEF CON is a game where you play as a nation with nuclear capabilities, and it is, as one might assume, is about the ratcheting up of the DEF CON system. Of you spend your first terms being like, okay, we're not really that bad right now, but we know that the other nations could strike at any moment. So you are thereby incentivized to build up your armaments and fucking move your ships all across the world to be like, I would like to blow up my enemy before my enemy blow me up. And then the game just ratchets up the tension, and then it's like, okay, it's nuke o'clock.
Yeah.
Let's
believe
see
the
what
tagline
happens.
for DEF CON was, in DEF CON everybody loses, but maybe you can lose the least.
Yes.
Ah, gotcha.
It's literally the War Games thing of like, it puts you in the seat of the robot from War Games, and you're like, all right, I have to try and play the game where I die the least from the nuclear armaments we're gonna launch at each other.
Yeah, I think as you were explaining it more, it reminded me of something. I think, Beaks, you might have pointed me towards this Polygon video a while back, or maybe I just saw it on YouTube at some point. But I remember watching this video that I think does a pretty good job of covering that whole, thing that you were just covering about how it's really
DEF CON
fucking
is
spooky.
cool. The visuals are great. The sound design very atmospheric.
Yeah.
Also has a cool mode like that was designed to be played like over a workday. It was like where they like slow down the time scale, so it's like almost like real time. So you're like, oh, don't worry, I'll check my DEF CON
it's
game,
like
and then like give orders, and then like
yeah, like emulating, because like during the not Bay of Pigs, what happened after that? What was that called?
Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yeah, Cuban Missile Crisis.
Yeah.
Where like it was on the news, so everybody was hearing about it, and then it's just like people were legitimately wondering, you know, is Cuba gonna just fire a nuke into New York City in like a couple minutes, you know? And like, so it sounds like it's trying to emulate that feeling when it goes into that slow motion.
And another company made it sort of a spiritual successor of this game. I forget the developer name, but it's called ICBM, and it's the same concept essentially, but it's like a little more, I guess, technical with the weapon systems than, because DEF CON is cool, but it's pretty simple, which you know is a good thing, I think.
Yeah, they published by Slytherin Software and developed by Softwareware and K Project. So
Okay.
check that out. Just call
So
it ICBM.
if you want to explore the genre of nuclear war strategy games,
Yeah,
there you go.
I think I can't remember if it was an academic article or just a regular news article, but I remember reading like someone conducted a study where they're like, all right, we're going to show you the game DEF CON. We want you to play through it, and then like it was like a before and after of like how like how they were overestimating or underestimating how bad nuclear war would be. And it was like a lot of people thought that it would be worse, but uh so they thought they were overestimating like the devastation of it, but they also underestimated how truly concerned they were about it. So the idea was like after they played DEF CON, they're like, okay, it is theoretically possible that humanity could survive all out nuclear war.
Yeah.
But they had also risen their concern level up of like, but if this were to happen, this would literally be the worst fucking thing to ever like possibly happen.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, I think the general, especially, I mean, there's been a large reduction in the amount of nuclear weapons, particularly in the U.S. and Russian hands. Like there are less nuclear weapons now than there were when Cold War tensions were really high in the late 70s and early 80s. But I mean, and humanity, humanity would survive, but obviously, like at what level?
It's
like,
not.
We would probably knock, depending on where you are, probably like to a sort of like, it's maybe early industrialization or pre-industrial in some places. Like
The
just because of
the mutually assured destruction principle is not as literal as people might have taken it to mean, but it's still a pretty apt descriptor of what happens when a nuclear war starts, just because we will not all die, but most of us will die, and then recovering from that will take centuries.
We just gotta become cockroach people, you know?
True, yeah. We all just need
but
a
we
little...
get to play Fallout, Nick.
What if we made Fallout, but real?
I mean,
dude, where's my power armor?
Someone made that role-playing game. It's called Twilight 2000, in which you must distill ethanol to keep your M1 Abrams running in the ruins of Eastern Europe.
Oh my god.
I have found the article. It was an academic article. It was done by the Journal of Canadian Game Studies Association. Done by 5 researchers out of the Concordia University. And it talks about it does the pre and post test scores, but it was seeing how playing the game affected your attitudes towards nuclear weapons and nuclear war, and they used people who read articles versus there were 2 groups. One group played the game, the other group read articles about nuclear war. And they used that as a comparison. So the article group was the control group. So like, hey, if you've read about nuclear warfare, how does your
conventional learning method of nuclear war TM versus the new dynamic interactive version that is introduced through DEF CON.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's just one of the cool abilities that games have, especially if it's trying to get its message. It sounds like it really got its message across well of what it was trying to convey. I'm assuming that the message is nuclear war bad. So, mission accomplished on that front.
Don't kill each other with big fucking guns.
There a lot of Western European countries have at least some nukes, right? It's not just
Not
Russia
really.
and America,
Nuclear. I mean, there's Britain and France, but nobody else. Like,
Okay.
Yeah. Does Germany not have nukes?
no, Germany has a staunch. They had there were protests all the time in particularly in 70s, 80s about because there were tactical nuclear weapons stationed in Germany for use by the United States, and also there's this weird thing called the NATO nuclear sharing agreement where NATO countries could deploy American produced weapons in so it's actually a big thing right now because Germany is retiring its fleet of Panavia Tornado strike aircraft, and they need to find a replacement. But one of the thing is that replacement needs to be certified to carry the B-61 tactical nuclear bomb that the Americans have because of the NATO nuclear sharing agreement. But some aircraft are certified to do that, some are not, and so that there's this sort of.
So they're planning to build their own though, right? They're not gonna try and buy them from somewhere else.
What if we just flew all Eurofighter Typhoons, but the Eurofighter Typhoon is not certified to carry the B-61, and the only persons who could certify that obviously are the stakeholders in the B-61 nuclear program, which is the Americans. So they would have to certify the Eurofighter to do it. But the Americans are like, check this out. What if you bought the F-35?
Okay.
Or I mean, if you don't want to, you could buy the Boeing F/A-18 Super Hornet. That also is certified to carry this. And then, Germany could. But the other thing is a course of action they could take. They could just say, yeah, I know we're supposed to do this nuclear sharing thing, but we're just gonna buy your fighter Typhoons, and if you certify them, then cool. But if not, then I guess we can't deploy nuclear weapons.
Oh no!
Oh, how did it happen?
Yeah, that's
I have the list for countries with nuclear weapons.
Yes.
I'm just pulling it from Wikipedia.
Yeah.
So there's the nuclear proliferation, the Treaty of Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, the NPT. This is the treaty that a bunch of countries signed to be like, hey,
let's cool it on the nukes.
We should probably stop this whole thing before it gets out of hand. And basically what happened is that there were 5 countries designated in that treaty to have nuclear weapons. It was basically, as with most things after World War II and during the Cold War, the NPT was signed in 1970, but the big countries that like being big get to keep their nukes, and everyone else who was like, I think nukes might be a bad idea, we're like, get those shit fucks away from me. So the 5 countries are China, France, Russia, UK, United States. Now that doesn't include all of the countries with nuclear weapons, because then we get into the fun wacky things that international relations has done to the world, especially surrounding nuclear weapons. So states with nuclear weapons that we know for a fact have nuclear weapons: India, Pakistan, North Korea.
Great.
India, Pakistan is a fucking this is something we learned about international relations, especially during our nuclear weapons segment.
India, Pakistan is an underrated place to predict the start of a nuclear exchange, because it
is constantly spicy there.
Here's how it works: is India, Pakistan were created as a result of British rule, which has never had any negative consequences of all time.
Man,
so
basically,
don't let British people draw lines. Is what we learned about history. Don't let them do it.
Pakistan is Muslim majority, and was a almost like a power thing the British did, where they were like, okay, let's what if all the Muslims were here and all the Indians are here, and we can just pit them against each other, and this will never have any long-lasting consequences. It's had long-lasting consequences because Pakistan and India have a long history together of not liking each other. They have fought wars against each other. And so, in our infinite wisdom, we were like, how do we stop the wars between India and Pakistan from happening? I got it. Mutually assured destruction. We'll let both those countries have nukes, and then they can't fight each other anymore because they'll just blow each other up with nuclear bombs if that happens.
And then oh no, Pakistan's government is becoming really unstable and
volatile.
fundamentalist
Whoa.
Islamic terrorists could overthrow Muslims' government, and then they'd have all these unsecured nuclear weapons to just, like,
Throw around.
yeah,
Kind of
Yeah.
crazy.
yeah.
It'd be really
Yeah.
inconvenient if that happened, huh?
Also, real weird how the Pakistani ISI is real friendly with, people in Al Qaeda. Interesting. Interesting.
Oh no! I mean, it's literally the same thing where
Yeah.
it's why people are like, it's the same shit where like people are concerned about nuclear weapons in any should be concerned about nuclear weapons in any country because like they're like it's fine. Like mutually assured destruction is based off of the philosophy that governments are rational actors who would
Yes.
not fucking blow themselves up.
Yeah.
But the problem is that what people should have fucking taken away is there are plenty of people who would love to come into power and blow their own country up for the sake of some weird nationalist bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, and that's the problem. Now this list on Wikipedia also includes some other countries that have access to nuclear weapons or rumored access to nuclear weapons. So NATO members that are part of the weapon sharing agreement include Belgium, Germany, Italy, Netherlands, Turkey. So these are countries that are part of NATO.
Gotcha.
And
They
can
could
be
get
like,
them if.
Well, they would use tactical.
There was
They would
a-
be like essentially like, hey, like it's World War III. God, that's a lot. That's a lot of Russian tanks. Belgium, we need you to fly this F-16 over here. just one. Don't worry.
That's all you need.
Now, on the rumored list, there's only one nation on the rumored list, and it's this list is titled "Other States Presumed to Have Nuclear Weapons." And of course, Bing Bang Boom. Who knew? This one's listed Israel,
Yeah.
where
I mean,
they
it's pretty
go.
much an open secret.
Yeah,
Now that
it's
they
an
have
open secret that
nuclear
they
weapons
have.
capability.
a
They got
big
close to deploying them in
fucking bomb.
1973.
For what?
Yeah, but it's
The
literally
Six
one
Day-
of these
the,
things.
The Yom Kippur War. It was going not great for the Israelis, and they're like, they're, if they could not reverse course conventionally and turn the tide on the ground, they were just thinking like if we're gonna survive, Israel as a concept is going to survive, we may have to deploy these nukes. And like actually because of that like worry, the US like instituted a crash program. Like they like flew carriers to the Mediterranean, and I'm like, hey Israel, just have these F4 Phantoms. Just have these F4 Phantoms. You want some tanks? Here. Like, cause like Nixon's like, oh god, I don't want fucking nukes going off
Yeah.
in the Middle East. This is
Kind
this
of
is
would
bad.
be an awful time.
Yeah.
Turns out.
So he's like, here, we're just gonna give you a bunch of milk. Don't worry about paying for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's no good. It's
So,
literally.
would-
How did this nuclear bomb get in the Middle East? Oh
Wouldn't
no!
it be the first time that America's just been like, here, Israel, all this cool stuff, here you go.
Just have it. Just have it. Just take it and do what you want with it. We'll just keep existing.
To
That's
tie
all-
it back
all
to
we're
the
asking.
stuff we were talking about before, now I'm thinking about. Sorry,
No, go on.
Nando said something an inch close to criticizing the Israeli government, and so
Oh, okay. Do you want
That
me to
means
criticize
in-
the Israeli government?
in
Yes.
American and UK politics, you're now Satan incarnate.
Yeah.
Oh shit!
Well, most importantly, you're anti-Semitic, so you should go kill
Wait.
yourself.
And I was
Wow.
just
Oh
thinking
my
about the
God.
weird controversy surrounding former Labor leader. Oh God, now his name's gone. Jeremy Corbyn, where he was like, "Yeah, man, I think we should regulate the banks because bankers in this country are kind of like, doing banking shit where they're stealing money from working people." And a bunch of people from conservative UK who are conservative in the UK were like, "I can't believe Boris Johnson would say something so anti-Semitic," and
it's
everyone's like,
wait,
"But wait,
wait.
no." But
Wait,
you
that means
assuming
you
that all
think
the
the banks
bankers
are
are
controlled by Jews.
Yeah, he never said
What-
what are
Jews
you
were
talking-
involved with the banks.
What are you doing? What are you
But the
doing,
worst,
buddy?
the
You're
worst part
touting
is
yourself
that
here a
Jeremy
little bit.
Corbyn's poll numbers did drop because they were like, "I
Yeah.
can't believe Jeremy Corbyn would say that," and I'm like, "Are you guys like this gullible? I can't."
And
believe
also
it.
that that's
Oh,
subconsciously anti-Semitic
Jacob,
that they
have you seen
didn't
what they
even.
call breakfast over there? Bangers and mash. I saw a great meme that say British people make food like Germany is still flying overhead.
But that's the thing, though. Is like there's some parts of like British society where they literally still think that the planes are coming the next day, and they're like,
Like,
we have to protect the homeland from the invaders.
guys, no one cares about your fucking rainy island anymore. Like,
Oh
one
my
cares.
God.
you guys should have realized back in 1956 in the Suez Crisis that you guys aren't the big guys on the block anymore. No.
I don't know. Like that's what's
No.
it's so upsetting too, because literally all of their decisions currently are like, we're going to defend the United Kingdom at all costs, and then like Scotland and Northern Ireland are like,
Yeah.
but like that includes us too,
Yeah,
right? And
now,
they're like,
now
no,
it's closer. Now it's considered closer than ever that Scotland might actually vote to become independent from the UK and become an independent nation.
Literally, it's just like, oh, we've got to defend
You're
our...
doing a great job keeping the union together there, Boris.
We've got to defend our giant empire! And it's like the two remaining countries that are part of your empire just want to leave. They want out.
Well, there's also Wales, and
Oh,
I watched a segment, I think it was on the News Hour this week, where they interviewed people from Wales. They're like, hey man, if Wales nationalism, which in this term does not necessarily mean like right-wing nationalism, it just means that promoting the
Wales,
independence of
yeah.
the nation of Wales.
There's some fun facts involving
Yes.
Welsh
I was playing some TNO earlier today, and wild stuff happening in Scotland and Wales.
The New Order?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
wait, sorry, I'm thinking of Wolfenstein. You guys are talking about just the
New
game,
Order.
The New Order
Hearts of
from
Iron.
Hearts of Iron. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But like the Welsh nationalists were like, dude, if Scotland pulls us off, then that means it'll be easier for us Welsh boys to convince that the UK doesn't care about us.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know,
Nice.
it's really weird. The problem is that a lot of people are like, isn't it weird that Scotland wants to break up the UK so they can join the European Union? Like they're literally criticizing the thing the UK did in order by leaving a organization that didn't represent them. I'm like, no, dude, they're leaving it because that they want to still be part of that big organization.
They wanted
They wanted to be part of
the
the big
thing.
organization the entire time. That's why they were leaving.
Yeah.
Like,
Fucking...
I don't know. The like the other thing is like they just literally Northern Ireland is like the unionist in Northern Ireland, people who are pro being part of the UK are like, Boris, please, we were really good boys this year. Could you please not do things that cause the troubles to start again? And Boris is like, I've never heard any. Sorry, I don't understand Northern Ireland. I'm gonna go back to Parliament and conduct things that will literally cut you off from the rest of the island, and thereby reignite
some of the responses for British
the 100
people
years
about
tension.
Ireland and other stuff, like they don't understand. Like, like I'm American and I somehow like know.
I just don't understand, why do they fight so hard to keep Northern Ireland at this point? Like, why? Like it seems like the majority.
It's a long issue
to preserve the union.
Preserve the union, and there are people in Northern Ireland who do want to remain, and it's not necessarily a clear, but.
You also have to remember that some of the original conflict between the Northern Irish and the rest of Ireland was brought about at everyone's favorite classic war of, I'm Protestant and I'm Catholic and I don't think that you're cool, and then they shoot at each other for 100 years.
Yeah.
And
so there's a someone posts screenshot of a Tumblr post where someone is like on this day, the Kent State shooting happened where National Guardsmen shot protesting students, and this British person was like, I'm British, but I just can't believe this would happen. And then someone replied, hey, might be easier for pretend they're Irish.
Oh no.
I'm like, yeah, buddy, like maybe you should
take a look at you. Do some self-reflection.
Maybe don't throw stones in the glass houses, my friend, especially when
I mean,
you invented throwing stones in glass houses.
You're so right, because I just remember that I have like been on, reading the BBC and other British news outlet interviews of like people from Britain being like, I don't understand why the Irish are so uppity about this. And it's like, ah, shit, dude. If only we knew. If only there was some reason the
Aw,
Irish
man.
don't. Oh no.
Oh no.
Do you
How
think
can
that
this
Margaret
happen to
Thatcher
us?
effectively utilized girl power when she funneled money into paramilitary death squads in Northern Ireland? It's a simple question. Oh man. But if we're, now that we loop back to Ingrid, I did actually want to get back to,
The Scottish election, or
well, we could get back to that as
Okay.
well. But we mentioned the Queen and how kind of weird it is that they still hold pseudo power in England. And you mentioned how you didn't think that she, like, that they might have just gotten rid of her ability to influence lawmaking.
she still has it.
But
That's what I'm saying.
she still has royal assent, right? So, sorry, yes. So she still has royal assent. But the other thing that I was hearing about more recently was that they, let's see. Evidence of the monarch's law. So this is an article from The Guardian that's talking about how basically whenever there's laws coming up in Parliament that could affect the monarchy in some way, like just in any way at all, they get advance notice of that, and then they have an ability to lobby against it before it comes into law. So basically, and I'll link the article here, and I'll show it on screen in a second. Basically, what's been happening is that over the past couple of years, when people have tried to make laws to even just disclose the wealth of the Queen or the royal family, they just lobby the hell against it before it has any chance to actually make it through Parliament. And get through. And so basically,
Whoa, a monarchy preserving its power? What?
Wow, kind of crazy, right?
Whoa.
So
You
it's
can't
just
say that's real.
yeah, I don't know. Just a little neat thing that it, and that's the thing. It's you don't see this stuff often because it's not something that's gonna get brought up because it never has the chance to. It's the whole thing. If they get advance notice of laws that would impact them, and then they get advance time to set up defenses against it, and then take them down before they get anywhere significant, then it's just well, what are you supposed to do? You know? So,
What do you want about?
Mm-hmm.
they must really like the tourism money to keep allowing this stuff to happen. But yeah.
I mean, it's not allowing the tourism money. The Queen is relatively popular with the British public, and it's hard to convince people that while in my opinion, an unjust system of rule should be dismantled. Some people are like, but the Queen, am I right? I don't know. There's
It's a symbolic thing, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a classic
Sort of cultural mythology, yeah.
Abigail Thorne video, Philosophy Tube, where she talked about basically the continuation for people, how she had been in parties with people who didn't approve of the British monarchy but still would say long live the Queen when toasting, and it was she just came to the conclusion that the institution is ingrained so much in culture, in the cultural sphere, that it is just normal for you to think that you have a chance to have sex with the royal family and then thereby become a member of it.
So it's their version of the buy your bootstraps mentality that was popularized in
but what's weird is
America.
what's weird is that
That
British
has
people-
like
it's not the
at
same.
least a
I
chance
like
of
to clear
happening.
it. Yeah, it's
I mean,
the
but you
chance of
have a
happening.
chance of fucking one of the royal family,
Yes.
all right?
Yeah.
Not a high chance.
But that's the thing is also there's that's what I'm talking about, how England still has or Britain still has a lot of this the German planes will be on the horizon tomorrow mentality of look, we just gotta I know the system's kind of unfair, but we have to suck it up for the betterment of the union. And you're but the system's kind of not good.
System's kind of flawed, fam. Yeah, I mean, yeah, and that's something that can be
No one wants to talk about how one of the members of the royal family was man, I really do like those Germans. Like no one wants to talk about that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
the
What?
Nazi sympathizer during
Yeah.
the
Oh,
1930s.
lovely.
Yeah, that was a whole deal.
Yeah.
I mean,
Mm.
fucking yeah. But I'm just drawing parallels here because obviously I'm more familiar with American stuff. But like, shit, who was the guy who was running against FDR? The Nazi sympathizer.
Hubert.
Talking about
Howard.
Lindbergh?
Yeah, Lindbergh.
Charles Lindbergh. Sorry,
Charles
I couldn't
Lindbergh.
fucking. I was like, the planes. The
At some point, I'm trying to remember.
Yeah. But it seems like that could be an apt comparison of like another figure that has some draw on, you know, the public being on the wrong side of history, to say the least. It's just interesting, but yeah. So wait, so I keep pulling us away from where this all started. What were the results of the Scottish election?
Oh, sorry. I was reading about Charles Lindbergh because the section for Charles Lindbergh under titled "Alleged Nazi Sympathies." It just starts off with Lindbergh's anti-communism resonated deeply with many Americans, while his eugenics and Nordicism enjoyed social acceptance. Jesus fucking Christ.
Hey.
But anyway, the
Anyway.
outcomes of the Scottish election. SMP picked up 1 seat, but fell 1 seat short of majority. So how a parliamentary system works is that in order to continue your power, is you need to have a majority of the seats. So it's the same thing as like who gets to be Speaker of the House? Whoever is the majority.
But the thing is, there are besides the SNP, the Scottish Greens are also pro-independence. So if they form a coalition, they have a majority.
That's what a lot of the.
Yeah.
I was going to bring that up because a lot of chatter has been. The SNP has 64 seats. You need 65 for a majority in the Scottish Parliament. But the Scottish Greens have 8. So if the SNP and the Scottish Greens come to a power sharing agreement about independence, then you can get a second referendum pretty easily.
Yeah.
Well, not easily, because the only way to actually for Scotland to get independence is for it to come from the UK Parliament. And I don't know if you know this, the UK Parliament is run by this little known guy, Boris Johnson. And Boris keeps going around saying, I don't think that this is the time for Scotland to think about independence.
They can think about it later. Oh man.
But yeah, I mean, I can read out the full results. SNP 164, like I said, Conservatives won 31 seats, Labour won 22, Scottish Greens won 8, and Liberal Democrats won 4. And once again, don't get these are British.
These are British
Lib
terms.
Dems,
They're not.
which is
They're not
different
analogous
from the Democratic Party in America.
Yeah.
Lib Dems are center right, if I remember correctly.
Wild.
Big in the Shetland Islands, apparently.
Oh yeah, I can just I've got the BBC link here, so I'll just post this.
Yeah, just drop it in there. Well, that was pretty much almost all of the podcast.
Fucking Britbong talk.
Oh yeah.
Ding dong,
Britbong
ding
and
dong,
Duke
dong, dong, dong.
Is there
I don't know. Fucking. I kind of want to see if Ireland has an election at some point as well, because I know the last Irish election was a lot of hubbub because it was having the same thing where like the Unionists were running into a lot of problems with Irish independent factions, and so if Irish independent factions start holding a considerable amount of power in Northern Ireland, then that's like a big fucking deal.
Yeah.
So I need to double check some of the stuff about Irish independence and how that's going, or I should say Northern Irish independence. But yes, Sturgeon came out and she was like, "Hey, we've literally controlled the Scottish Parliament for 4 terms in a row now." They came into power in 2007, and so she's like, "Fuck you, Boris. Give me independence referendum."
How does the UK Parliament work in terms of like how do the individual countries within the UK get to ask for these types of things? Like,
I think if I remember correctly, it's a top-down structure. So the UK Parliament is above the smaller parliaments of these countries,
Yeah.
of Wales, Ireland, and Scotland.
Mhm.
And so they delegate power down there. So something like a referendum has to come from the UK Parliament, because that is something that you know Scotland can ask for. It's kind of like becoming a state, but backwards.
Yeah, unbecoming a
uh,
state. So I guess maybe my interpretation of things is wrong, but it feels like really what we're saying, like UK wants to keep hold of all these countries. It's in my brain that's translating to England wants all these countries to stay part of the UK. Is that wrong to think like that? That it's sort of like England wanting to rein in all of these other groups, or is it more like it's just a bunch of people in all of these countries that are trying to sort of...
I mean, it really depends on what country you're talking about, because the United Kingdom is a union, so it's got technically, with any luck, it's got 4 countries left in the United Kingdom bit of the union, with Britain, Wales, Scotland, and Ireland. And I don't know. I've thought about this a lot. Where like I feel like a lot of people will be like, "Well, Jacob, you wouldn't support a state wanting to become independent." I'm like, "Yeah, but a state didn't exist before we made them a state."
Yeah.
Scotland was a country at one point, so like it's kind of weird. Also, like
Yeah, I'm looking at the legality section, and it's it's a whole mess because there's this British law and different cases throughout the Commonwealth and stuff. But then there's also like international law and like what the United Nations considers like
yeah,
the state. And so like you could make an appeal to what you perceive as a higher authority, but obviously the UN is the UN, so like its
yeah.
authority only goes so far.
It only goes so far, and
Yeah.
like, I mean, there have been plenty of cases of country declares independence, and then it just like sits there for a while because no big player wants to be like, I acknowledge that this country is a real country now. I mean, like that's happened plenty of times throughout history, where like
Taiwan.
Taiwan. Taiwan's a great example. I mean, I think
if you ask the United States, there is only officially one China.
I mean that's slowly changing.
Yeah.
Hopefully, in my opinion, even though like I understand, like everyone's like, "Ooh, what if China gets mad?" And I'm like, China's already
China's been mad. China stays mad.
China stay mad. Like I don't know, man. China.
That is actually something that happened recently, I think.
Oh god.
Was it? I'm trying to remember. You guys know
Jacob, what if we simply tow Taiwan further away from China?
just tow them out to
I mean,
sea
that
just
would-
a little bit.
Oh, moving land masses in order to change international relations. That's the most Chinese thing I can think of.
So they are at China.
What
I don't know. Like, it's so, man. I think I talked about this last week as well, but it's hilarious that like old people in China have more sense about what's happening than the young people in China, which feels like the exact opposite in
Yeah.
most countries. Because there are a lot of young Chinese nationalists in China, and there are old people in China who see Xi Jinping get rid of term limits, and they're like, "Hey, wait a sec! I've seen this episode before. Wait, hold on. Let's hold on."
You guys,
I mean, they won't say, "Hey, let's not do this. I disagree with the party," but they'll be like, yeah. So there was like this guy. He had like not great hairline. His name was Mao Zedong. He didn't have term limits either. Wasn't a fun time for a lot of people.
Are you telling me the Great Leap Forward wasn't that great, Jacob? Are you telling me that it isn't as great as prophesized?
No. I promise we can put a small industrial site on every farm in the country. There will be no repercussions for that.
Okay, yeah. So that reminded me of something that did actually happen recently, with another scuffle on social media between this Overwatch League player from South Korea.
This is already off to a great start.
Criticized China's one China policy. Player by the name of, who was it? I think his I don't think this is his real name, but his player name is Sabayob. Sabayob. I'll drop the link in here. I guess they ended their boycott recently, according to this article. But yeah, he was just criticizing China, and turns out Chinese Overwatch and China in general don't like that very much. I don't even understand what exactly boycotting a player would do in this context, but they were doing it.
They can't show up on Chinese media.
Oh, okay. All right, I understand.
Like if China doesn't like you, they will literally specifically micro target everything about you and be like, "Sorry, you can't see that."
This is the second time Chinese
Reminds me of
nationalism and the Chinese government stance on Hong Kong and Taiwan.
Nationalists flipped the shit about BTS.
Yeah.
Because BTS said, "Oh, we'll never forget the sacrifice of American soldiers in the Korean War," and they were like, "Whoa."
Oh man. Yeah,
that's crazy. I mean, look. I think it's kind of funny that the Chinese nationalists got upset about that, but that's also insane. Just imagining a Korean pop group be like, "We'll never forget the troops, boys."
Also, what are the Chinese nationalists expecting for them to be like? Yeah, we love the Chinese soldiers that were trying to rush in and crush us from the north. Man, we love those guys. Like, what are you expecting?
This is what I'm talking about. The Chinese nationals are. I'm about to get banned from China. Just they're bonkers, dude. I understand how you indoctrinate an entire generation into thinking that your country is genetically superior to other people. But also you guys gotta chill the fuck out. HM is like, hey man, we don't really also this is kind of dumb because these companies of course fucking knew about the slave labor going into making their products in China. But like some companies were like, sorry guys, Chinese slave labor might not be that good. We didn't know, but
we didn't know.
Like
we were just unaware.
And Chinese nationals are like, no one buys from these brands anymore. You can't do it.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we see the same sort of thing in the U.S. to a lesser extent about obviously but here it's funny to see because this happened recently with the Biden administration acknowledging the Armenian genocide and saying this thing happened and the
are we gonna do anything about it in the current time period?
No, we're also gonna continue sending military to Azerbaijan, but but people in Turkey flipped out of it, and there's this guy I follow on Twitter who's he's PhD student in political simulation. He interesting fellow. His account is at @elkus ELKUS on Twitter. Interesting fellow, and he just posits I mean, yeah, and then these countries all fire back with well, didn't you guys kill the Indians? And it's like, well, yeah, we know that.
Yeah.
I'm taught about that. And, I mean, it obviously depends on what high school curriculum you have, but that's not a necessarily a new either you hear that in America and either you believe it or you don't, and life goes on. That's the thing. There's not these huge movements of people flipping out. The way it's not so ingrained in the national there is a national mythology of the United States, and that obviously has created negative problems. Has created
just
problems.
Just a few,
but it is not the fervor of it's just some people in the United States have this very pro-American, other people don't, other people and it's just it's just not, we just kind of you got us.
Yeah. And it's silly to be our past war crimes are okay because you committed past war crimes as well.
To get back on the topic of China, there was this exchange. I say early on in the Biden administration, but we're still early on in the Biden administration. This means we're more month 2 of the Biden administration. Where Anthony Blinken, head of the State Department, and some Chinese diplomats met. I think it was in Alaska. It was on the West Coast at the very least. And they were like, okay, we're going to talk about, US China stuff. And Anthony Blinken was like, all right, so we really want to get these talks started off, but also China's genociding the Uyghurs, and we don't think that's okay. And so the Chinese delegates were like, yeah, fuck you, and I mean, I don't think he said the word. I don't think Anthony Blinken said the word genocide. I can't
Probably
remember
just the
if we had said
mistreatment or
genocide yet,
something.
but it was
Yeah,
like it was literally
mistreatment.
like the mistreatment of people with inside China who were part of the ethnic minority. And the Chinese were like, well, America mistreats its ethnic minority too. And Anthony was like, yeah, but we like acknowledge it and like
There are
we understand
discussions
that
in open
there are
American
discussions.
society about
Yeah.
it. You're allowed to talk about it.
Like they were like, look at all the protests you have, and Anthony's and Blinken's like,
Yeah, and look at all
that,
the
like,
protests you
proves that
don't
we're, like,
have.
we can like the U.S. don't like. He's
What
literally like,
happens if let me just ask you a question, Mr. Chinese investment. If I'm in the internet in China, right, and I type in the word Tiananmen Square 1989, what comes up? What comes
Nothing. A completely normal day. Nothing.
Yeah.
There's a
Nothing.
completely empty
Interesting.
square. A completely
up?
empty square,
Interesting. I
Beacon.
remember it like that. Hmm.
Oh man! Wow.
partly cloudy, 58 degrees outside.
Yeah.
Just a completely unremarkable
Not
day.
a day to, not really a great day to like gather in large numbers in a public area. No one would do that.
No,
Why?
it'd be crazy. You know.
They were worried about the social distancing, guys. They weren't hearing
They
this-
were really ahead of the curve on that social distancing on that day in that square.
Man, these type of conversations make me think about like I just like can't go to countries. Like as
We've
much
talked
as I
about this
enjoy
before.
international relations and all this. Well, I know I talked about it before, but like like sometimes I'll just be like like literally just walking outside thinking about my life and I'm like, man, I just like they're just parts of the world I literally can't go to because I want to say some shit and then they're gonna take me away and then I'm gonna die in some prison. Like
Look, you gotta be
I'm like,
optimistic. It's
I
a
don't know, I
country
would
that
like
you
to
can't go
visit-
to right now. All right,
Yeah,
maybe in the future we can we can as a global community can, especially with the internet. I think like the internet is by far the greatest enemy that China could have in terms of controlling its people the way it does.
Well, I mean, all they did
but
was
they
build
have
a big
largely-
firewall.
Yeah,
Right, I
they've
know, but,
largely
like-
walled it off. They've created social incentives. Like they are harnessing the internet in a lot of ways to as Jacob has alluded to, increase nationalism in the burgeoning young population of China.
Hmm.
And I mean, I mean, yes, I think the internet is a great force for expanding information and connecting people. But like, technology is only as good or as evil as the people who use it. And
Yeah.
in this case, like, yeah, it's the internet is being used to enable, an impressive security police state apparatus. I mean, and it's all, I mean, there are also people in this country who are want to do that and sort of I think China is the sort of bellwether like canary in the coal mine about like, hey, think about you should value your privacy and you should value protections against the state, knowing everything about every aspect of your life and being able to influence your life with that information because as we can see in China that's becoming more and more the reality.
I
So
I guess I'm just trying to think of it because like it is concerning that they can't I guess the thing I'm thinking of is like I don't know if it'll be reasonably possible for them to entirely. They can't become North Korea, I guess is my thing. Like they're at this point.
I mean, China has found a way. They said, okay, our system of communism economy was not working out, so we introduced free market stuff, and like that is a big part of why I think there are a lot of young Chinese nationalists is because life has gotten. They look at the lives their parents had and the lives they have now. Their lives, economically at least, are better than the ones their parents had. They have iPhone. They have technology. Apartments, car. Like all these things that their parents, and their parents' parents may not have necessarily had.
Yeah.
In China, and China is becoming more prominent on the world stage. It's it's a world economic power. Increasing its military strength. All these things, and they see, I think there's the mentality is like, this is the Chinese century, this is China's time to, make the world recognize. And because, historically, if you look 100 years before now, like
Mhm.
if we look at, China was not in a great, China was not in a great place as
Well,
a
not
nation.
yeah. China.
It was
China
not
was
even really a nation.
right. They were. There was
fully.
like a good. I mean, their history is fucking massive,
Yeah.
way longer
I
than
mean, that's
most
the thing.
other.
For most of Chinese history is like they've been this huge power, and then but in our
But there's-
recent modern history, they've not been in
Yeah.
terms of the way they were exploited economically by Western powers and divided and all this stuff. And now it's like, okay, we in some way, I think there's the Chinese perceptive that like, okay, we are reclaiming our birthright in a sense of like China as a major power, and now we're doing it in the 21st century. So
yeah.
I think until those fortunes change or something changes in that way, I think it's going to be kind of actually difficult to sort of dissuade uh, these people who have these fervent nationalist, sort of beliefs. Because like what I mean, they haven't seen any downside yet. They haven't really, or haven't been made to care about any downside. Obviously, the stuff in Xinjiang, but like that's
Yeah.
that's pretty far away from the majority of Chinese citizens, because
Mhm.
it's in the eastern part of China, which is much less densely populated than Western or mix it up. They're in the western part of China, which is much less populated than the eastern
Yeah.
part of China. So it's like, you know,
Yeah, I guess I don't know. There's no easy answers or anything to really take from this. I guess I don't think there's really any solid point to end on in this discussion. It's just an evolving situation that will just.
I mean, in the
live
long
through
run,
history on.
watch out. I'm gonna do something I tell people not to do, and it's called speculation. And it's I mean, the real answer is that let's assume that good old Xi Jinping continues to accumulate power amongst him and his bedfellows, uh,
Xi Jinping
continuing to
gay?
destruct anyone.
Sorry.
Well,
sorry.
Nick's just dead now. He's gonna be assassinated.
No, I didn't call him Winnie the Pooh.
You're gonna get hit
all
with
right?
the same fucking radio wave bullshit that's been hitting the CIA.
fucking direct energy weapons.
But
Sonic
it,
weapons.
like, I mean, you can accumulate power as like it's kind of like what Beekman said. What will enact change within China is if there's a drought period. If something economically
There's an
or
economic
politically
crash,
bad happens,
some other political
which it could,
catastrophe.
uh,
China somehow gets involved in some sort of, what if they have, they could get involved in their sort of,
And I
what you
mean,
would
that's
call
very plausible to possibly
Vietnam or
happen.
Afghanistan, Iraq equivalent, where it's just like, wow, we're sending all these Chinese soldiers to.
Well, they've got the border skirmishes with India, not to mention all the stuff that's
Yeah,
they're trying
but
to redefine the borders in the
that's
ocean.
different in a way. I'm talking,
Yeah.
because like that is about, again, like securing what China believes it is owed, and
Yeah, but that's
also,
what Germany believed, right? When they took back the Rhineland and shit like that.
Yeah.
Like, that's just
Yeah.
it's a stepping stone, and that's
Yeah.
I think.
I mean,
it's
it's
learning
a
from history. You want to avoid repeating it.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, like, I don't know. It's a complex situation. I mean, the real problem is like I feel like we were talking about, which is like nothing's really going to change until something bad happens. Which I mean, if I'm a betting man, something bad will happen because I don't know if you know this. Most countries don't have perfect track records. I would say we're betting for the total number of countries on the planet currently, and some of the ones that we are in between existing and not existing. And so like
Look,
I don't
Antarctica's
know.
never done anything wrong, right?
I don't know. I feel
That's
New Zealand's batting pretty well.
New Zealand's batting pretty well, but also they've still had issues like that time where the guy was like, I don't want to wear a necktie, can I wear my Maori
yes.
garb instead? And
they suffer
no.
from the same
and then
colonial issue.
He won a court battle and he was allowed to wear it. I don't know. It's one of these things where it's like it's weird, like just like there are things on the international sphere that the US can do in order to be like, China, you're acting bad.
Yeah.
We gotta
Making
do the
statements and
bad thing.
imposing sanctions is a step in the right direction, you know? Like, and again, if people
I mean,
can
the problem is like y- China is such an integral part of the world economy.
yeah.
Like, it's one thing to sanction Russia, because like Russia, I mean, like they are, they are a large country, but like,
Speaking about country with bad times, Russia is nothing but bad times.
yeah.
And so it's easier to be like,
But Russia does
hey,
not like manufacture an insane amount of like, or control an incredible amount of the world's rare earth minerals, which
Yeah.
are in your phone, your computer, like the
You
things
know, the
that run
current
modern society.
RTX 3080 fucking
Yes,
shortage, and
all
actually
that
just
stuff.
all cards and like
So,
microchip processing stuff that's such a
sanctions
shortage of.
sanctions are only effective if you get a large portion of countries to sign on to them, and I just don't think you will get enough countries interested in pissing off China by saying, yeah, or interested in doing a lot of damage to their own
Mhm.
economies by sanctioning
Yeah.
China in
That's
that
why
way.
this
I mean, there
this
are some
I
things
mean,
you can do.
my take is like, watch out. Dave's gonna do the thing where he says businesses are bad. But my thing is like, one of the ways in order to help weaken China's economic power is to weaken like so much of America's business has conglomerated into large corporations that are look primarily to cost cutting measures.
Mhm.
And a lot of them go, I don't care about national security risk or the global economic condition or who's in charge. I just want to make money in the short term.
Mhm.
And that includes literally finding any place they can in order to get the, the lowest cost, uh, including, uh-oh, we didn't know slave labor happened here. How were we supposed to know that? Uh, oops.
You tell me I have
And
to
so,
research this country that I'm planning to export my work to? Fuck
yeah,
that.
I mean, yeah, like, hey, did you know that if you weaken businesses and also enact economic reevaluation, like Beekman said, there's always going to be some influence from China because of their abundance of raw resources.
Mhm.
But you can weaken the power of large conglomerations
Yeah.
to have control over the vast sum of money that flows into the country. And by breaking them up, you are now China now has to deal with, you know, even more like you are thereby slowing down the rate at which businesses can enter into the country because there are just a lot more businesses, and those businesses might also see that as like, oh, there are a bunch of businesses in China already. Okay, I'm going to go search for a different place in order to base some of my uh supply chain in.
I will exploit other developing countries now instead.
I mean, then that just goes into me. Look, watch out. I'm gonna start
More
saying things
international
that
politics. Look,
it's
we're
more
we're
international
way
politics
over on
about
time, but
how I think that world should be organized.
Or-
before we go, Nando, I'm sorry, I don't feel like we let you talk about anything you want to talk about at all.
Oh, I mean, it's fine.
You're playing
I
WoW
mean, I was.
Classic. How's that? Just,
Oh, I mean, we can just shut down this week's episode, dude. We don't have to. You don't have to force your audience to listen to the curse that is WoW Classic.
well, Burning Crusade's coming out soon. Again, that is
Yeah.
very fun to me. I'll just end it on that note. How the fuck are they gonna call it WoW Classic if they're just gonna start updating the game again to make it more
Well,
of
there'll still be classic like there'll still be OG servers that are dedicated.
But
to
they're then gonna make a new portion of servers that are to the Burning Crusade. So
Yes.
so then, okay. So then eventually, what's gonna happen is that they're just gonna have all of the expansions be on their own server set, maybe.
Maybe. That is a good question to answer for another day.
Okay. All right. Well.
But I mean, I don't know. I'm just waiting for this weird cycle to eventually hit Wrath of the Lich King.
yeah. You and seems like most of the WoW community, but glad you're having fun with it. Thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed all of this jargon. I had fun with it. Yeah.
Also, a bunch of core members of the website Giant Bomb announced they were leaving this week.
Oh
Really
yeah.
sad. Because I've been listening to those particular group of people talk in my ear holes or view in my eye holes. Eye holes? Not really holes. For since probably 2002.
They
It's
around
like
that
the
long?
past 19 years of my life.
God damn.
And so it's kind of an end of a sort of long era, and I think an interesting end of an era in terms of the coverage of video games on the internet. And yeah, it's sad, but also it'll be interesting to see what happens from here.
They've got places to go. They're definitely known well enough that they could probably land any.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I cannot speculate to whether those people will continue to work in games media, as they had a podcast about it this week, and as Jeff Gerstmann jokes, it's like uh, most people most people don't, because he's like in his late 40s, and he's like, most people in games journalism are not in their late 40s, and he
Right.
talks to Brad when Brad started at Giant Bomb, and they started Giant Bomb. Brad Shoemaker was like 28 years old, and it's like 28 was honestly the year a lot of people were getting at. Like that was the age a lot of it's like a lot of people are like burned out of this or left or went to the game side to be a producer or a community manager or do PR or do consulting. Like, but they stuck with it much longer than that. So it's sort of
Yeah.
sort of
I would think that, just as gaming as a hobby gets into its adult years, I guess, like that's just going to become more of a normal thing, right? Like cuz
yeah, but I mean, if you look at other mediums, like I don't know, Roger Ebert was a film critic for most of his life, until he died.
yeah, but films.
Books, movie, but the
Roger
games
Ebert was
industry.
like around. He came up in like the 70s and 80s or
Yeah.
whatever. And then film had been around since like the 1910s. So, like games are literally were just born in like the 70s or whatever.
Yes.
So,
But it's just interesting because like I don't know, there's just been like I think there's a lot of churn in the games industry. I think, and there's a variety, at least for the covering of the games. There's I think a variety of reasons for that. But
Yeah.
this podcast is already long, so.
Yeah.
I definitely think that COVID did a lot of like I
yeah.
don't think it I don't know how much it changed, and I think it was more like a shit. We've all been doing this for a long time,
Yeah, I
and
think
now
I
all
think
I've been able
everyone
to
in
do is
general has
sit
had a
and
lot of time to think
contemplate.
about their life. Over
Yeah,
A lot of
course
life
past
reevaluation
year.
going on during lockdown, for sure. So that totally makes sense that if there's a time for you to reflect and step away from your job, it would be now.
Yes.
So that totally makes sense. Wish him the best. And, yeah, I guess I don't feel like I'm personally really familiar with Giant Bomb stuff, but I'm sure their work has touched me in some way in just by, revolving
I mean,
around
I would
so
argue
much.
that Giant Bomb largely pioneered a lot of what is now popular in like Giant Bomb. Like I think it broke the seal on like, hey, we're gonna just put up like, because before video content, because like when did they launched that site? 2008. Like YouTube had only been around for a few years. There was like not a lot of there weren't long videos on YouTube, period.
Yeah.
And like in terms of video game websites, like we are putting up like trailers and like here's like 2 minutes of gameplay, like just here's a little clip of 2 minutes that we named like, oh, here's a vehicle sequence, and like no one was like playing game like a 30-minute chunk of a game and like talking over it and like talking about it to somebody else.
Yeah.
Which is I think the quick look format that they sort of pioneered of like, which I think is a really great way to show off a game of like you have someone who has played the game and is showing it off, and then they're talking to someone who hasn't played the game, maybe knows something about it because it's a popular franchise or something they're interested, or maybe knows nothing at all. And then that is sort of their bread and butter. And like, I mean, if you look at today where we are with streaming and let's plays and like that's all stuff Giant Bomb, and even before then that group of guys was doing at GameSpot. With live streaming shows and stuff before Twitch, before any of that stuff. Like, so I think Giant Bomb is an innovator that I think a lot of people who do that stuff today wouldn't be doing it if it weren't for you know, someone would have done it, like someone would have broken the seal on it, but it was Giant
but
Bomb.
it was these
who did
guys.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Stay safe out there, and peace out. Where's the end button? There it is.